Brayshaw takes a beauty. That's it. I'm growing a beard this week.
Thank you. Time back on.
We're back for episode, we probably are in the 70s by now.
I think we're in the 70s, yeah.
Episode 70-something.
Thought about changing it up this week with you starting.
How did it go?
Well, we needed the change up.
We did. Something had to change.
What are we? Are we two losses in a row?
Yes, and we had the bye, so we haven't won a game in over 3 weeks.
And we feel like that could be podcast related, so...
You'd be surprised how all roads lead back to what goes on in this room, so we've changed it up, and it's a success so far. So
now we wanted to start with a bit of us, a bit of Angus and Max time, because last week we walked in and Gawny was there. We had to get things started. Then we just got talking brawls in Philippines, and it just went for way too long. So we didn't get to chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think fair enough. That was a big brawl.
He's a star.
He is.
Looking back on it, I've gone, we had a genuine star.
Yeah.
Like, no NBA, but plenty of
Star.
NBA boomers.
Star power. So now it's you and me, mate. How you going?
I'm good. In the middle of winter, isn't it?
Yeah, well, someone told Alice Springs in advance to prepare.
So I saw...
Freezing cold.
I got a text from a good friend, Dean Turlick.
Turls?
Not a friend
Not
of
a
the
friend.
podcast, but a friend of the football club.
Shout out, Turls.
Shout out Turls. He sent me a text saying, not sure if you're allowed, and he knows I'm not allowed because he's been a footballer. The mayor of Alice Springs wants to have a beer with you. This is the night before the game.
Was he there?
No, Turls wasn't, but Turls knew the mayor of Alice Springs.
Brilliant.
And he wanted to go out for a beer. Two things on that. I'm not sure what the rules are in Alice Springs in terms of having a beer at that time of night. And secondly, I've got a game the next day. So
I think that should have been the first thing.
But I did see the mayor the next day after the game. And he said, disappointed you didn't have a beer with me. And then he goes, that's the coldest ever day in Alice Springs recorded.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it felt like, this is one I got for you. Someone will probably know the answer, but I woke up in the morning, checked the temperature, it said 7. And so I walked outside, dressed appropriate for 7 degrees.
What's appropriate for 7?
Jumper.
Yeah.
But we had a team walk.
Did
so
you
I
take
had
your
my jumper on?
Take those trackies that I love?
I had just shorts, just a pair of shorts on, runners, and then I got outside and was altogether too cold. I then looked back at my phone and said, this doesn't feel right. 7 degrees. It says feels like 2.
Which is a horrible second weather report that we get that feels like.
Yeah. What the hell? How can, if it feels like 2?
Why isn't it 2?
Tell me that it's just 2 degrees. Give me that number.
But it was 4 degrees for the game.
Yeah. So I'd warmed up 2 whole degrees.
And I couldn't imagine for anyone that was sitting there watching the game.
Yeah.
There was a fair crowd. When we ran out, I was a bit worried. Then they started to come late, which is obvious because they didn't want to be in the cold for much longer.
Yeah, it's got that desert cold about it, Alice Springs. It gets hot. It's got that desert heat when it's hot, and then that's what people don't tell you about deserts.
Yeah.
It
literally rained from the minute we got there until the end of quarter time.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then we sort of...
Then it picked back up in the third, I think. It was interesting conditions. It's back-to-back rainy games. Genuine arm wrestle games where we've lost, so it's a bit unfortunate.
They also have a river, and I say river in Alice Springs very loosely.
River.
Todd River is a river only in the sense that it looks like, from the 9 years I've been going there, that water sometimes flows through there. It's just dust for the 9 times I've been up there, dust. And so I've looked at the report, I've said, oh, geez, I'm flat, that it's going to be raining and it's cold, but on the plus side, potentially going to see this river flow for the first time, and there was only 1 or 2 puddles. So
There's a great myth. They say every time we go there and it's sunny, they go, oh, that river flows when there's a week of rain. Well, there was a week of rain.
And it just simply was not flowing.
It was not flowing.
A small to medium-sized 1 or 2 puddles, and that was all I got out of that. So,
how are you going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, just Danielle's in Europe.
In Europe? Okay.
Yeah.
How many people on your socials are in Europe?
So it's a good question. Danielle's very much on my socials with it, but my mother and father, who are well past the age of social media competency, they're also in Europe.
Okay, what are they doing?
Climbing Mount Mont Blanc in Switzerland.
Okay, yeah, right.
I'm not sure how far up they're going, but they could be easily going to the top. Yeah, they're hikers.
Yeah, right.
Hiking.
They're hikers.
Yeah, they're hiking.
Camping along the hike?
Yeah, I suspect so.
Okay.
But again, this is the thing. I don't actually know because they're really bad at social media.
It's not Everest.
Nah, it's not. It's like Mum's done Kilimanjaro before. It's a solid. It's a hike. They bought their They got like snow tires. How they've got like the chains on them. They bought them for their feet. But, I only just found out about that the other week because they're really average social mediaers, and if that's a word. So they're on it too.
What's Danielle up to over there? Where's she?
She's in Sicily at the moment, south of Italy, living the dream.
Which I also always got described by my Italian teacher in primary school that the boot is kicking the ball and Sicily's the ball.
You speak Italian?
Buongiorno, Angus.
That feels good.
And buongiorno, signorina Calabrese. My
nice. Far out.
Does that sound good?
There we go. I actually didn't know that. We've probably got a few listeners from Italy, so
and uno.
Do we?
No, I don't have much more than one. No,
That's okay.
I do.
Hey, that was really good.
I go to 20 actually. 20.
We don't need to hear it.
No,
So she's living the life. She's been in Croatia, Italy. She's in Sicily at the moment, going to Rome, and she'll be home in a week's time. So I've been just living the solo life, which has been it's just different. Missing her dearly.
I can imagine you on a solo life. How many hours of PC gaming have you played?
Not actually very much.
Okay.
I just watch Netflix and I've got a life. Like
you can probably get through the American Office.
Yeah, I've actually started with the Swedish one.
Okay.
And then I'll go to the Serbian one, and then there's a Mexican one.
But the American one's on.
They're all knockoffs. So, but I've been playing a lot of golf unimpeded, which has been terrible for my mental health. I've been watching some TV.
One thing that does get me about everyone in Europe is 3 of my favourite sporting events are currently getting played over there.
Would you say that the Tour de France gets played over there?
It's a good question. Like I'm an avid cycling fan, probably the only one at the football club, probably the only one in an AFL circle.
Is Ed Langdon a fraud?
No. I'm improving him.
Okay.
He's able to. I can have chats to him. He can chat the chat.
I made the mistake of sitting at your table the morning of the game and just got 10 minutes of.
Yeah, welcome to my life when you're talking about. He
sounded like he could walk the walk.
When Live Golf was in Adelaide, geez, that was the worst week of my life.
You're a golfer too. Anyway, continue.
There's the top 5 most watched sporting events. You know where this is going now in the world. Cycling's number 1 ahead of Soccer World Cup, Olympics. The Tour de France is ahead of Olympics, Soccer World Cup, and Cricket World Cup.
No, it's not.
It is.
It just simply is not. I want to fact.
You should see type in Basque Country. That's like San Sebastian, Bilbao, that northwest part of Spain. Have a look at the crowds that have rocked up to stage 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, I am just want to let the whole podcasting world know that I think that's a fat steaming lot.
Okay, fact check that.
Which you'll have to bleep.
And also,
the most watched.
One person back on my. That's true. If you fact check it, we'll get it. Okay. The other 2 sporting events are obviously Wimbledon and the Ashes. Do you know someone who I'm going to try and copy what he's done because he's won 4 flags? A few of them as skipper. No, only one as skipper. But Joel Selwood was in the Jayco bus, which is the Australian cycling team, was at the Ashes, was at the warm-up for the Ashes, talking to Paddy Cummins, presuming he's going to pop up on my Wimbledon screen at some point.
Yeah, probably.
He's having a phenomenal little trip. He's taken the family. I don't think Jess and George would necessarily want to do those things with me.
So he's just on a sporting tour, what's the word? Sabbatical from Australian sporting life. He's getting on his...
What is sabbatical?
It's like a break from work. So,
why didn't you say break from work?
Well, because I was trying to think of the succinct word. I was already stumbling out of the blocks. SABBA.
BB.
Double B.
That does not sound like a double B.
Well, let's fact check it. I'll fact check sabbatical.
Sabbatical. Why is there 2 B's in sabbatical?
Why is there 2 P's in, I don't know.
Muppet.
Well,
that does sound like, because there's 2 syllables. So that could be why sabbatical. Yeah, because it's a syllable change.
ATICAL would be my spelling.
Wow. I've never seen that word written down either.
Continue talking. So Joel Selwood's over there living that. What you want to go on the Max Gawn sporting tour?
In 2020, I'm contracted to 25. Probably get another year out. Tassie in 27. So 2028, I'll be over there for the Tour de France.
So surprise, surprise. I just did a quick fact check, and yes, I was correct.
What?
The spelling.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the cycling Tour de France.
Unsurprisingly. I'm probably right there too.
We said we're going to get a footy player on, a Melbourne player. We've actually added an extra podcast to slip in Titus O'Reilly because he's a very popular man. So Titus is coming in today.
Big Melbourne man.
There is a current player coming at some point. We are at the MCG at 8:30 a.m. on a Monday. So to bring a player out of bed, we actually feel...
Well, that's what people don't see is that there are a lot of balls in the air and we're in high demand on that side of the fence. So, That stuff just doesn't happen. You don't just wake up and Brodie Grundy springs up in your cereal.
No.
A little bit of work goes in there.
But we'll have someone next podcast. It's not Kate Chandler will be here as well. But just a little update. We do support all of our friends of the podcast. We both got invited to go to the Sushi Mango restaurant opening.
We did, but it was a Tuesday. I couldn't go.
And you didn't make it.
Couldn't go Tuesday. Had prior commitment.
Do you want to go into what you do on Tuesday nights?
We could. How long do you want?
Well,
how long we got?
I haven't seen Titus yet. I'm sure he's close, but
I have a
Tuesday chew.
Tuesday chew. The play on words is obvious if you were to.
Well, to be fair,
the spelling. Tuesday isn't spelled.
Tuesday starts with a T.
Yeah, but the way we spell it, CHEW is day. Tuesday.
Because you get to
Tuesday
choose.
chew.
You get to
we go
choose
eat.
where you go.
No, that's not how. That's the wrong.
Sorry.
We'll cut that one out.
So it's
Tuesday, yeah. So we go.
It's a play on words, like sabbatical.
A fellowship of there's 9 of us, and every Tuesday at 6:30 we'll go and eat dinner. There'll be some people around the Balaclava sort of area.
Down that way.
Around, yeah.
Okay.
But we are like clockwork.
You go somewhere in Balaclava, yep. So you change it around.
We change it up every. But what doesn't change? There's 9 of us. What doesn't change is that.
And you can't miss.
The ball goes up at 6:30.
Even to go to a friend of the podcast event.
Well,
you can't miss.
Let me tell you, there's a punishment system. We've got it. Let's say a bit like the tribunal. Like they get the spreadsheet intentional. It's often intentional if you miss. But we've had some pretty severe bans handed out to people. Tom Sparrow had COVID, and he that was a bad one. Spargs had his partner's birthday dinner that had been organised for a while. That didn't fly. Jim Jordan had his mum down from Yarrawonga. Sorry, mate. Bring her along.
Yep.
We're inclusive.
Okay.
And so I absolutely know for a fact. And it's been penciled in for the diary in perpetuity. For as long as Tuesdays will be, I have a dinner at
just again
Tuesday night.
The words. What was that one?
Perpetuity.
Can you write that down for me?
Sure, mate.
Has that got 2 T's?
It does not. Perpetuity means.
E and E. I would have gone with like a U in there, maybe to start.
No.
Like purpose, perpetuity.
Yeah, I am no longer going to be fact checking my own spelling because I'm not letting you put that down in my head. But yeah, it's Tuesday, every Tuesday. So that came up in the calendar. They are friends of the podcast, and I would love to have gone. How was it?
Packed. It was packed. The man who likes to cut every ribbon in Melbourne, Christian Petracca, was sort of the focal point there.
Nice.
Guess who else was there? Mason Cox.
Oh.
And those two have obviously been in the media together. I said hi to Jack Crisp. He was there.
Did you get a photo with either of them?
Jack Crisp, we got the same manager, so I talked to Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Yeah, okay.
Brought his little daughter.
There you go.
Okay, so the Tuesday
you
was the
it.
reason why I went. So don't ever invite you to anything on a Tuesday.
Well, I mean, invite me. Sure.
But you won't
just
come.
be prepared for,
all right.
the eventuality that I don't come.
All right.
Was it a good night, though?
It was.
Did you go back?
Titus is here. We'll come back.
All right.
Hi, Jake Lever here. Zurich Insurance has been protecting Australians for over 100 years, from individuals and families to businesses large and small. Just like a game of footy, life is unpredictable, which is why they offer a range of insurance solutions to help you protect what matters most. So why not head to zurich.com.au or contact your financial advisor today to see how Zurich can support you. Now, let's head back to Gus and Gawny.
Welcome back, Gus and Gawny. We've got our guest.
We do.
You two just met, which is exciting.
Yeah, for the first time. I'm, funnily enough, a Twitter fan of the satirical stuff's always sort of tickled my...
Hold on, he's been bringing up all these words today, which are phenomenal.
If I can't say satirical...
Do you know what sabbatical is?
Yeah.
I don't. What's the other one? Perpetuity?
Perpetuity.
I don't. And what's the third one?
I just said satirical.
Satirical.
These
I don't know
are
what
not hard words.
One of those words.
This is like footy journos love to say penultimate in the
Do you know what penultimate means?
The final one.
The second last.
The one before the
one
final.
before the final.
Okay.
And they all rock it out every year. It's like the one big word they know.
Satirical start of a C or an S?
S.
S.
Would you just...
We're starting off a very low base.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Some of these tweets here, like this tweet, for example.
Have you got some big words in there?
This tweet. First, Grange signs on as a sponsor. Now, Cozzy Pickett resigns. Add in the stage 3 income tax cuts, and what a time for Demon supporters. It's a bit of a satire, poking fun at
Well, signing up Penfold Grange was a great
Was
sponsor.
huge.
But I like how we're leaning into the sponsors.
Yeah,
So
it's what Jaguar and
we've got
Penfold
Jaguar
is
and
great.
Penfold, and I often, after a D's game, I'll be in the car on the way home drinking a Grange.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a driver, so don't worry. I'm a Melbourne supporter. I got a chauffeur, so it's all good.
So Angus initially said Twitter. Twitter is Titus O'Reily.
It was where I started, because I started as a joke.
Yeah.
Like I was just working a day job, and like everyone who's bored at work, I was just tweeting, and then it's like with no idea it was going to do anything, and it started to take off.
Yeah.
And it coincided with the Melbourne being, let's just say, not the best side in the competition. So there was a lot of venting.
Sort of like a perfect storm. You wouldn't have taken off as a Twitter personality if Melbourne weren't so bad that you had something to tweet about.
Well, it was partly Melbourne, but the thing that really helped me, which I enjoyed more, was the Essendon scandal.
So
The
scandals.
supplement scandal, we have to call it, technically.
Adversity in comes Titus O'Reilly. During that little patch of, obviously Melbourne were getting beaten up left, right and centre from media, from teams, from Titus. And Nathan Jones wasn't the biggest fan of you at that time.
He told me once recently that I'm the worst person in the world. He told me that to my face. And I'd never bagged him, and I once wrote a piece called Nathan Jones is the greatest man alive when he played his 300th game.
Yeah.
So I always loved Jonesy, so I was devastated when he said that.
Well, he's a friend of the podcast, so he'll be listening.
Yeah. I was
What's
devastated.
your message for Jonesy
I love him. I know he doesn't like me, but I love him, so that's
There's
okay.
the olive branch is extended.
But also, I can't make fun of everyone all the time and then be annoyed if someone says, I'm not happy with you. Like,
correct.
Well, you can be. It's hypocritical.
I'm not an English cricket fan. I can't be hypocritical.
Well,
so
we
funny.
actually talked today on the way in. Probably a good day to have you in post the Twitter carnage that's going on in cricket.
Oh, it's so good.
What's your favourite thing?
It's almost gone too far. There's too much cricket on Twitter right now.
Well, because it's just satire as comedy is just pointing out the difference between, I think, what people say and what they actually do. So people say, I'm a really great guy, but really they're horrible behind the scenes. And the English cricket team are making out like the spirit of the game is something they cherish. And they tried the same thing and it just didn't work. You know, like they've done this before numerous times. Brendan McCullum's done it before. Like it's the lack of self-awareness to just go, probably we should keep quiet on this one.
Can I tell you, Brendan McCullum, the Brendan McCullum one is hilarious because he's come out and said he won't have a beer with the Australian cricket team. Yeah. They were 9 for Sri Lanka, and the batter made a ton with the tail ender, which was Murali. So he's made a ton, 2 runs. Murali gets the other end and just wants to quickly go celebrate with the guy that gets a ton, and McCullum ran him out.
He did it twice. I think he did it another time on a 50 as well. So he's like actually like, and then the MCC members over there, not like our good MCC members in. We're here to salt of the earth.
We can't. Yes, we love our MCC.
I'm an MCC member.
Of course,
and, we are just, we're better people. So it's kind of amazing. But I love how they're all like the ones, they're so upset when England have done everything to win. They came into this talk. How big did they talk coming into this?
Yeah.
It's
Do you know what I mean?
They're not going to win this test by 150 runs.
Yeah. Well, morally they've won both apparently.
Yeah, so good on them. Also, any England. I'm not sure because we would have listeners from.
Yeah, we'd have
England,
some English listeners.
Whether or not they are expats
Actually
living there
Poms
or
or
Poms.
Aussies,
If you are a Pom listening to this, do not listen to this. This is not we're not giving you any
I hope
sympathy.
we don't lose. I hope I don't cost you your big English audience.
Oh, we do have one in the room.
I know.
We've gone. Yeah, it's an interesting chat. There's a reason why there's not a mic down there.
But it's just good. I just love when they bag on about it. And it's like when Lance Armstrong this week came out and he's going to do a podcast on fairness in sport. It's like the lack of self-awareness.
Maybe he was doing it as like, I know how not to be fair.
Well, if he was,
have
that
you
would at
listened to
least
it?
be funny. Yeah, I'll listen. Because he was do you know his real name is Lance Gunderson?
And he changed it to...
It got changed because his dad left and then it's his stepdad's name. So it was Gunderson. But his name Lance is named after a guy who was a Lance that played NFL and who was the family were big fans of. But he ended up being arrested on domestic violence things. They still named him Lance after that.
Oh, well, the stepdad.
Yeah, so from when the Lance family. So he was born in controversy.
Yeah, he
before.
never had a chance, did he?
Yeah, so him talking cheating, that's about like the English talking about the spirit of cricket.
Oh, we can make Kiwi jokes.
Yeah, we can. How about we talk about Titus?
Sure.
So books,
Yes.
you got a few.
I've done 4, and I'm writing another one at the moment, yeah.
If you're recommending one out of the 4,
Well, if you just want fun,
Yeah.
Cheat, which is the history of cheating,
Yep.
is like, that's just, I was laughing just researching that because it was just so, the stuff people do.
all sporting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
every sport. So
Yeah.
I've just gone like, who? Because Australia actually we're not very good cheaters.
Yeah.
Like apart from Sandpaper
Sandpaper.
Gate, yeah.
Which is, I mean, we
Well,
technically
you're bad,
were
yeah.
bad
we
at
were
that.
bad. I mean, there was like 40 HD cameras. Like it's
Yeah.
just the dumbest. Like I remember a woman at the time, a friend of mine. She goes, I just don't understand how they could have been so stupid. And I was like, well, you haven't met a group of Australian men before. This is like we are that dumb, you know.
But there's better stories than that.
Oh, there's like some of. I mean, the East Germans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theirs was a government-backed cheating.
Soviet Russia's
Okay.
intense.
Yeah, they
That's
like
a gold mine.
Yeah, the Sochi Olympics. So the Sochi Olympics. So Sochi is they held the Winter Olympics there. It's actually a subtropical climate.
Okay.
So it's the only place in Russia that's actually a tropical climate. So they had it there. It was Stalin's favourite beachside resort. So they built the drug testing lab because you're hosting the Olympics, so you built it. And then next door they built another building which was hosting the FSB, the security, which is the follower on from the KGB, right? The FSB are the ones now that do all the Putin's assassinations and stuff. So they were next door. They drilled a hole in the wall, right, between the drug test laboratory and the FSB building. And in the FSB building, they literally had a library of test tubes of clean urine from every single Russian athlete. And at night, they had a chemist go in who was allowed to be in the drug lab and pass any Russian athlete's test through the hole in the like it's literally just a drill
So
hole in the wall.
I feel like you shouldn't be the one reporting this. So I feel like
and then they swapped the urine with clean urine.
How do they find that out? I guess is, unless
There
you're
was a
the
whistleblower.
chemist,
There was a whistleblower.
the chemist.
Yeah, he's now no longer with us.
Well, he's gone to America and he's in hiding.
okay.
Couldn't ever- But this is the level of cheating. So I'm not saying you guys should do this.
Yeah, but we
Just
should buy
think
the
of
book.
it. Just think about it.
And which out of the 4 books you'd least recommend?
Probably.
I'm not a massive reader, so I would like to
Clearly.
just pick 1 or 2.
Well, they're all so good.
Yeah, but there's the 4th one's
no,
not as good. Sure.
No,
Whichever
Cheat's
one.
the 4th
Okay.
one. The first one's a history of Australian sport. That's good.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
good.
I'm into
Second
it.
one's a sporting chance about how we always forgive our sporting heroes no matter how bad they are.
Okay,
Sure.
yep.
And then the third one, this is one you can probably skip. It's
Okay.
a bit more less. It's called Please Gamble Irresponsibly.
Yep.
And it's the history of sports gambling in Australia.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll skip that one.
What about what's this new one coming out? You said you're writing.
I'm writing the 7 deadly sins of sport. So all the different sins of pride and thing and against all the various sporting
Yeah. Okay.
ones. So
Oh, we've actually got the books here. We've got a list of them.
Yeah, we did a bit of work
Yeah, we did.
beforehand. We got a few
these
tweets out.
guys did the work. Like, don't pretend
We-
you guys did
You
it.
don't see the stuff behind the scenes.
We-
No one sees it. That's
I got another question,
Yeah.
and it's your. Sorry, this is going to sound quite. Your appearance.
Yes.
Now, when did you realise you had to wear a 3-piece suit and a hat every single time you were ever out there?
So when I started this,
Yeah.
I was literally working another job and I started a Twitter account.
Yeah.
And I just found this picture of a guy. It's actually a mugshot from 1920s Sydney.
Yeah.
And I just liked the guy. The shot was just really good. So I just said, I'll just use that. And literally I had like 1 follower. So I wasn't like thinking anything down the track.
Yeah.
Then 5 years later, I did first stand-up gig. And everyone went afterwards, all they would say afterwards is, you didn't wear the hat.
Yeah.
oh,
So then I was like, oh, now I have to wear a hat.
you're a hat guy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I wasn't. And now I've had to do it ever since.
Yeah.
Is it annoying putting on a 3-piece suit?
And a hat.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like if I come to the footy in it,
Yeah.
I get people stop and chat and all that. And if I don't, no one recognises me.
So that's good.
So yeah, it's a bit like the...
Bit like Gawny in his beard.
Well, maybe I could wear a 3-piece suit and no one would recognise me.
Yeah, I don't think that's working for
Beard.
you.
The beard will do you
It won't
in.
work.
Yours is the beard.
Okay.
You think it's the beard?
Well, I suspect, nothing
Aren't you
else
like
about you.
7'10" or something?
The height
Isn't
doesn't
it
help as well,
also-
yeah. And if I was at the G as well, it's like... If I went to like the arts centre, I might be able to be incognito, but...
You just have Ed Langdon there saying good day.
Yeah, I would have it. So it's that's how
So,
many
I've been
hats do you
stuck
have?
with it. Oh, I've only got like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Do you
People
wash
always
them
when
ever? What's the rotation?
I just buy new ones.
Yeah,
and
okay.
But the worst bit is when I'm out and people are drunk, they all want to wear it and take a photo in it.
Yeah.
Including, I've got a great photo of, I was did the Hall of Fame and Matt Pavlich and Simon Black. Blackie's got my glasses on and Pav's got the hat on.
Brilliant.
So, so that happens a lot.
Hall of Fame does look like a lot of fun.
How was Choco's
It's
speech?
fun.
Live.
No, I wasn't the one the year before.
okay.
So that's when, was the year before?
Was Goody last year?
A couple of years.
Couple of years. No, the one that I had was like Jonathan Brown was in it and Pavlich, Simon Black, all those guys. It's a fun night.
Yeah.
The after party's fun. The night's a bit.
After party for every event.
For every
is
event.
Fun. Yes.
Every footy event you go to, way too many speeches.
I slightly agree. Beston, you should come to it. Have you been to the Melbourne Best and Fairest?
No.
For a while there, we were doing speeches after every award, and there's 15
really?
awards. I remember Watsy got up for a fifth Best and Fairest and went for 10 minutes.
Do you say anything interesting?
He started with, I might not get up here again. I might get to fifth Best and Fairest. Hopefully you do get up here again and beat that. But no, nothing interesting at that time.
Yeah.
The podcast.
But we now, since that day, we now only do the winner as a speech.
Yeah, well, I remember doing a speech last year and not winning. So.
What's going on with his hair at the moment?
Yeah, that's...
Everyone's talking about his injury, but the hair's the
Well, he's actually got a haircut during the
Have
injury.
you seen that?
the new one.
He's going to come back looking good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the injury has got him to...
I know it's the least important thing to discuss about the current situation of the Melbourne Football Club, but to me, it's keeping me awake at night. But I did like all the conspiracy theories about why he was out, but they didn't go far enough for me.
Did you lean in?
Oh, no, because it was just so ridiculous straight away.
I can't believe a WhatsApp rumour made it to the news.
But they do all the time. You've met these journalists. You know, the most insulting thing I ever get called, sometimes people go, "You're a footy journalist." I go, "No, I'm not. I don't report the news at all." Like, I don't, but that was...
Has any of your tweets that are so clearly parody/jokes, have any of them been falsely made?
I've had
true?
people get really annoyed or think they're real. Yeah,
Like Jonesy.
Yeah, like Nathan Jones.
I think he just didn't,
We're going to talk that up over the next few podcasts to make it a real rivalry.
Well, I interviewed him once and he said, "Oh, you've been harsh on us." I go, "It's been pretty hard." You're probably the nicest. And he goes, and I didn't say anything ever about him because he was always, to me, in those days, he was the,
he was the heart and soul type.
Well, he was also like the one guy doing the group assignment.
Yeah.
Like I'd look at him at the bottom of a pack with 8 guys on
No
him,
one else
and
chipping in.
everyone else sort of going, "I'm open," and you go, "Get in there," like.
He once got his 10th Malay fine and finally said, "All right, boys, we're splitting this one."
Yeah, I
So
remember
that
did
was-
he?
early in my career. And how could you argue?
Well,
But it
that's
was changing by the time you arrived, yeah?
Yeah, we didn't.
You were
Who
there.
Yeah.
was your first coach?
He was Roosie.
Paul Roos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you,
That Jonesy, the melee stuff was when
you
that
were
was when
there.
I was there.
Yeah,
he had the hat.
so you missed
The
the
hat was shaking the hat around.
you missed the
Miss China and Nildy, your two big ones.
China. We can't.
Here's a
talk
tweet of
about
yours,
China.
2015. Brayshaw is everything we hoped those thousands of failed first round picks would be.
Exactly.
AFLD's
I
pie.
was talking about your brother,
Yeah. He was in 2015, so he was in year 7.
but also what I liked about both of you guys, not to
Here we go. This is,
is
all meant.
when we did win the premiership, which was and it was typical when we couldn't go, but it was like the greatest moment of my life.
Some couldn't go.
Some couldn't go. I could have gone.
Some still made it.
Yeah, some did.
Yeah.
The real true believers.
The true believers.
I got asked by the front bar, "Will you go?"
Oh.
But they asked me like months out.
And you would have had to do
I
it.
just couldn't because I couldn't do it. But I also just thought, remember how Eddie got in trouble for trying to sneak his kids in or whatever?
Yeah.
Not sneak.
Someone
but
sees
organise
Titus
it.
O'Reily
I thought
over
if someone sees me, they go, "There's people who can't get in to see their dying relatives.
Yeah.
There's me in my stupid hat."
Yeah. Just say you live in Perth or something.
Right, yeah, exactly. I've got business in Perth. I might get rid of them. I own a mine or something. But
We only had Gary, so you could have been. You could have been a
Gary
toss-up
was-
between you and Gary to present the trophy.
Oh yeah, it was neck and neck between him and I. But the thing you guys did is I remember you moved on to playing defence more and on the wing more when you'd been on the midfield, and then you let Jackson stay in the ruck.
Yep.
That bit, and that was the first time I think I was like, "Oh, okay, this is like a true team." This is they're doing things that a lot of people would have just gone, "Well, I'm not doing that."
Yep.
And you see the bad teams, that's what they do. And so that was where I realised the culture had changed took away so much of my material. But
It's come back to bite me. I let Jackson ruck for 5 minutes. Now I don't ruck anymore. 2 years later.
yeah, that's a lesson. Never let anyone else do your job. You should have got someone really bad to fill in.
That's correct.
They used to say about like doing a current affair and stuff on the the holiday break.
Yeah.
There's the joke in Frontline about you always get Peter Luck to do it because
I'm presuming he's bad.
he is an old, like some people get that reference, but he was like this guy that was always just the backup guy.
You just quickly realised you've told 2 millennials about a current affair. It's probably not our show.
Well, you don't watch it daily?
No.
The listeners will get it.
I don't watch commercial TV at all anymore. I don't know
Feels
about
like
you
that's
guys.
phased out of my.
Well, I only watch Titus, Front Bar and Cheap Seats. Only one of them you're on now.
Yeah, I finished up at the cheap seats.
Yeah.
And but I'm still doing Front Bar. Because
Okay.
Mick and I work in the same office. We do podcasts together. And
And the
have a
podcast is
business.
called...
Yeah, so the podcast.
Sports Bazaar is a podcast. So, and I do Front Bar whenever we remember I haven't been on for a while.
Yep. So...
There's literally that. Mick will go, "When's the last time you were on?" And I was like,
pop
I
in.
can't remember. And
Yeah.
so he goes, you want to come on? I go, yeah, all right.
The project?
I did the project a fair bit.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did that a lot. I did cheap seats for a couple of years, which
Yeah,
I
okay.
liked, but it was just doing 5 minutes a week sort of thing. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like.
So the podcast, you're big in the podcast at the
We're
moment.
doing that. We've got another one we're about to launch in a little bit.
Oh,
And
Okay.
is it behind closed doors sort of stuff, or you
Yeah, well,
can-
it's going to be about. It's going to be like, so we're doing Sports Bazaar, which is bizarre stories
Yep.
from the sports world, and then we're going to do another one around animals. We're going to do as well, and then we've got a few others we're going to do. So yeah,
around
You
animals.
got to branch out of sport.
David Attenborough.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
stuff. He's
I'm gonna
old.
branch out.
Attenborough's getting old.
Yeah, it's time to move him on.
Yeah,
So
okay.
Titus
No,
is the
it's
new
fun.
Attenborough.
Mick and I talk about because we have no knowledge. It's just us telling like weird animal stories. Because one of the ones we've
Well, there'd be some real weird ones, I'm presuming.
one of my favorites is a guy was getting chased by killer bees
Yep.
in the Amazon
Yep.
and jumped into a river to get away and got
Oh.
eaten by piranhas.
That's a bad beat. That's a bad beat.
He pulled the wrong rein on that one, I reckon.
Can you, and I'm not sure if this is feasible, or if
Well,
you've
I mean,
work the cassowary in there. Can you get a cassowary
Well,
story? off the
Mick,
ground?
Mick talks about the cassowary
Okay.
all the time. He loves it.
There you go. That's a dangerous.
Max
animal.
Rook, who was our forward line coach in the Roos era, he named all the nine or 10 forwards in the forward line group.
Yeah.
They all had a
Predatory animals.
a predatory animal
Oh,
as
really?
their name. And Mitch Hannon was the cassowary.
What year was this?
Roos era, so 15 to 18.
So this is what turned things around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
animals.
Mitch Hannon, the cassowary.
The cassowary.
You'd
Was
remember
he?
him
Yeah,
fondly
yeah,
from
yeah.
cassowarying his way down the forward flank in against Geelong in the final, kicking the seal up.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Cam Pedersen was the bear.
The Bear, Tom McDonald, Lynx.
Lynx. Still gets called Lynx.
He's
Bit
a
of
lynx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a deodorant.
No, it's
No,
not.
not Lynx
It's
Africa.
not
he
because he's
smells-
always wearing.
he smells fine.
He does.
He's always
Does he?
wearing Lynx Africa.
Yeah, he smells okay.
He's not a bad smeller. We got some.
Who's the worst?
No comment.
No, probably his brother, Oscar.
Big porterhouse, yeah.
We should call him at some point.
Oh, that went horribly.
Favorite ever demon?
My favourite ever demon was Alan Jakovic.
Purely because of the material we gave you, or
No, he was like the first person I mean, because it's hard to, like, if you went there, the excitement in the stadium, I mean, he was as good as, I saw Dunstall, Lockett,
Yeah.
Ablett play week in, week out, right? Like, I went all the time. I had a bunch of Hawthorn mates. I saw Dunstall play a lot.
yeah,
When I was like, 10 onwards, I was just at the G almost every weekend.
Yep.
So, I saw Paul Salmon, Gary Ablett shoot out live and things like that, right? So these titans of the game. Jakovic was, I reckon, this will be, for that brief sort of 50-odd games where he was playing all the time, as good as any of them.
as good as them.
He was.
I do hear
he's
that a
the
lot from-
fastest to 100 goals, I think, in history.
He
Yeah.
kicked 9 of them on my old man one
Did he?
Friday night against.
Oh, that's
in
great.
Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah. He was
So
just like...
60 degrees.
And then it was like he came, he just destroyed, and then it was like he was just gone. Like, it
Unfortunately,
was just-
known more for his personality, isn't he?
Yeah, but that was part. Like he was.
It was part of it.
He was so exciting. Like he kissed his brother, and he'd like do things. He'd like.
His brother wanted him dead that day, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that was great. That was just one of the.
Do you want your brother, like, do you want
To kiss my.
no, like, do you want to make sure he plays horribly and get into him game day, or
Oh.
Or would you prefer he did well, but you still won?
Oh, I don't really care how he plays.
okay?
I just would rather
Would
win.
you go at
You
him?
know what I mean? If it's appropriate. I tackled him. If he's there to get tackled,
Well, the Selwoods famously really
well,
go
one
at
got
each
a
other.
week, didn't
One got a week for hitting the other one.
Yeah,
It'd probably be 10 weeks of what they used to do.
yeah,
to each
exactly.
other now.
No, I wouldn't. No extra shenanigans.
You
on
wouldn't,
top.
Djakovic.
No.
No.
And if
Sling
Andrew,
tackle him.
Oh no.
if
I
Andrew
wouldn't.
kissed you, would you do what Glenn did and try and
No, I don't know. I would be surprised,
if Andrew
and
kissed
then
Yeah.
would be.
you? There's
you
no
know,
kissing in the Brayshaw house, really.
Not a lot of that.
Okay.
From brother to brother, certainly.
Okay, just
Some
checking.
deep issues being brought up. I didn't realise this was a therapy session.
Yeah. Oh,
'Cause,
jeez.
like, so I was there with, so I went to every game for years when it was the Djakovic and then, Gary Lyon, but they had great players,
Always had a good full forward from like the Neitz and Schwartz era.
Well, Neitz I always thought was not a great forward in that he was good forward, but he was at half back. I mean, if he had been able to play his whole career at half back, he was like as good as any centre half back.
Instead
and it
he's
was when it
gone
was
full
a full. He got moved full forward, and he was great as a full
Well,
forward.
he's the greatest ever full forward for Melbourne, almost.
Yeah, but he was he would regularly, as a 19-year-old, destroy Wayne Carey.
Okay.
Like regularly.
Why did he get moved forward? Was it a lack
They
of
just
forward?
lack of forwards.
Okay.
You'd have to talk to him about the exacts, but from a fan's perspective, that was why.
We did have him
We had him on
recently.
like we
Yeah,
probably
and
missed
he,
the-
so
missed the boat.
he was insanely good as a centre half back.
Yeah.
Like he and Djakovic were the only two that could stop Carey.
Yeah.
But Neitz was doing it when he was like 19.
Wow.
And Carey was. I used to go to all those. That was in North, played all the Friday night games because Carey was like scary.
Yeah.
He would just change the game single handedly. One of those few players.
Yeah.
And Neitz would just stop him every time. And then they moved him forward, and he was good as a forward, but he was so much better as a centre half back. And he would have been, I reckon, one of the best centre half backs of all time. But he was a kid who was 18, walked in and looked like a full grown man. Like he looked like he'd done 10 pre-seasons.
They normally go the other way. A failed forward goes back. Not a
what's
good
the
back
saying?
goes forward.
Backlines where forwards go to die.
Yeah, like Tom McDonald has done a back to forward, but not
Yeah.
many people do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Neitz' reading of the game and everything at centre half back was just so good. And so it was really Schwartz going down. If Schwartz had never done his knees,
Yeah.
multiple, if you had him at centre half forward and Neitz at centre half back and never had to move Neitz forward, which is really because Schwartz couldn't play anymore.
That era, we might have been able to get a flag.
Sliding doors moment.
That was no doubt. I mean, Schwartz was insanely good too. Like
Schwartz playing the 2000 granny?
yeah, wasn't he massively injured though?
Yeah, I reckon he might have been.
Still, yeah. So, but
Yeah.
before he was injured, he was just doing like insane stuff.
Yeah.
So,
There's
you
people
know.
are saying Van Rooyen. I never saw Schwartz play, obviously. Well, I might have, but I don't really remember it. Van Rooyen's a similar type.
no,
No, I've made that up.
people might say, but so Schwartz was big, but then he was so agile,
Okay.
way more agile than Van.
We'll
Rooyen.
tell Jacob that.
Well, Van Rooyen just needs to lift.
do you want us to tell him that as well?
No, but Van Rooyen's just a different type of player, I think. Like Schwartz was great. He was almost like, you know how Fife and that are those big midfielders now that would normally have played
full forward.
would be full forward.
Yeah.
Schwartz was more like that. He was the first player I saw, well not first, but one of those players, a bit like Carey, who was as good in the air as on the ground. So
Right,
he was
I've got a different
He'd
picture.
probably be in the midfield. Well, this is young
I might be
Schwartz
thinking post
before.
knees Schwartz.
Yeah, if you'd seen him in the early days, he would now have probably gone in the midfield if he'd had, So it was a very different time. But they had Tingay and all these guys.
Stinger.
It was a great era to be a Melbourne fan.
It was a fun
Unfortunately,
era.
no success. 2000 granny was close.
That
There
was
was the
close.
Jim Steins ran over the mark in 89,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah. That was the year before because then there was the 2000 grand final was like that prelim before that was sort of the highlight up until the recent era.
Carlton was the qualifying final. What was the prelim?
And there was North, wasn't
North,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. And so they were like great. Beating Carlton in the final was when Carlton were like
That was supposed to be in the granny against Bombers.
yeah, and they were really arrogant Carlton supporters. Like when they were.
Were they?
Oh, well, people. So you can tell people's age when people say, "Oh, I'd like to see Carlton do well," and I go, "Yeah, that's because
you don't know.
weren't there. You're like people that grew up before vaccines and didn't have polio." They were so they made Hawthorn supporters seem humble and easygoing.
okay.
Carlton, they were the worst by a mile.
Is that where you're going away from Melbourne? You're most famous for your AFL humour, I dare say. You do a lot of stand-up stuff around AFL,
which
is another whole big topic. Probably don't have enough time, but surely you played in front of some crowds that are like one person. Have you had some bad stand-up gigs?
I've usually, unfortunately, I've always had crowds because a lot of it's either corporate or so. I've never really done a gig to one person or anything, which is worse in a way because it's bomb. But the worst one I ever had is I did this gig and it was like the guy booked it, didn't tell me it was on. So I got this phone call and I was massively hungover. Right. They say, "Oh, you got a gig in like an hour and I forgot to tell you." And so I had to drive out to this footy club. And by the time I arrived, they'd pushed the start time back. Yeah. So everyone except for about 3 people was out the back smoking. So no one. So this was to like 3 people. And one of the 3 people sitting around in front of me was Mick Martin, the former North Melbourne. Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's the most intimidating guy. And so I get up and start and he's just sitting there with his arms crossed, staring at me like I'm not opposing full forward and he's going to destroy. And I just bomb.
Did you have a North joke?
I did. I can't remember what I did. It was just like, because I was unprepared and then I get there and no one's even in the room except for Mick Mark and a couple other people. Yeah. And he's just staring at me. And you do the first joke and he just doesn't even, there's not even a like, it's just this stony face. And I was like, oh, this is not good.
Oh, no.
So I do that. Anyway, I leave and anyway, it was a debacle. And then I thought, well, he won't remember. Anyway, about 5 years later, I do a big gig. It was like 2,000 people at Crown the day before the grand final. And I go up and I do okay. And then afterwards, we're at the after party and who's in front of me? Mick Martin. Yeah. He goes, "Oh, it was really funny." I go, "Oh, thanks." And he goes, "I don't know if you remember, but you were the shittest comedian I ever seen."
So he did like it.
He goes, "So you're actually good? I didn't know that." And I was like, right.
Well, that's good. You got some.
So if you got a bomb in front of anyone, but that's the thing. It's like that's the one thing I do like that comedy. You know, like I don't know how similar it is not playing it, but you guys, you either win or lose, right? Yeah. So it's pretty black and white. Like, and you could have done whatever. And if you win, no one cares. Yeah. And if you lose, everyone's like, you did everything wrong or you didn't prepare enough or whatever. And comedy's like that. You either get the laugh or you don't, so no one cares if you've prepared 3 hours or 2 minutes for what you do. It's either funny or it's not.
I'm sure some of your best gigs are when you just walk on and just nail it. But then some are also a bit of preparation.
A lot of it's just if the audience are kind of
feeling it,
into it. But then like I did one where I had a comedy festival run of like 23 shows, and the week out I'm like going, this show's okay, but I need to write more. I'm not feeling it's very solid. And then Sandpaper Gate happened, like 2 days before the start,
and then bang.
So then it was like,
cut everything.
Well, it was just like, well, that's my first 20 minutes before, and everyone was really up for it.
Loving it.
So
topical.
Yeah, well, it would be like having a gig tonight, and you can just talk about Stuart Broad.
Yeah, you go my first, like, because that was when, like, that day I did my first show of that, the paper, someone had written in the paper that David Warner was the mastermind of it. And I was like, they're 2 words you never thought you'd see next to each other.
Well, we should wrap up. I'm not sure if you've seen Cade Chandler walk into the room. He actually reports the news for us. Young Cade. You got some good stuff today? Okay, that's good. So podcasting with Mick Malloy, Sports Bazaar,
yeah. So
new one coming. Look out for Animals Bazaar. Well, I will, and I'll read.
I've sold it to you.
I'll definitely be reading a thoroughly unhelpful history of Australian sport.
I'll be reading you and going, what did you think of it?
I won't be reading Please Gamble Irresponsibly.
No, don't read that one.
Thanks, Titus.
Thank you for coming on, mate. Good stuff.
Newshound's getting big.
Almost transcending the show itself.
I love 37.
Now, I'm going to go in order of importance here. A bit's happened in the last week.
Is that the news you're leading with?
Welcome back to Gus and Gawny. Thanks to Zurich and Sporting Globe, the 2 big dogs in the sponsoring department for us. Yeah. We got multiple others that we haven't followed up with. Spargs. We need to get Spargs on, actually.
We need to get 5 Spargs up. We've got our news hand. We just have a laugh off it.
I've got a question for you, Kay, just to start. Would you rather be killed by a swarm of bees, angry bees, or piranhas?
Killer bees. They have the potential to kill you.
Bees.
I'm not a massive fan of being eaten alive.
Yeah, I'd rather get stung and then just like lie down and.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be
Not get
24 hours of pain though, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm just wondering how quick the bees. I guess this is you got to listen to Titus's podcast, but how quick can these bees kill you?
And what flavour bee are we talking?
Exactly.
I'm basing it off the movie Piranhas. You sort of
Yeah.
die in 10 seconds.
That's if they get whipped up into a frenzy.
Yeah. They're angry, the piranhas in Piranhas.
Are they the ones that is that Piranha Tornado where the?
I went to the cinemas and watched it in like
Sharknado.
IMAX or something, and it was crazy.
That's a
It was
bad
like
beat.
3D. It was made me sick.
I think I'd take the bees.
I'm taking the bees as well.
I'll take the
You?
piranhas.
Okay.
And then there's just shit. What if they were just taking little chunks out of you for like? I don't know.
I'm
an
still
hour or
dying
something?
quicker than the bees, aren't I?
Yeah, but there's a
I
lot
don't know.
more of you, whereas of us, so your death would be longer.
What if the bees? There's like a trillion bees, and I die in like 10 minutes just from. They've just so many bees have stung
I do feel like I could get away from the bees more than the piranhas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if you're in the piranhas world, then you're absolutely
Done.
cooked.
You
Yeah.
feel like you could run away from the bees or potentially fight back.
Yeah. That's something that he didn't consider.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
bees.
I'm on.
Yeah.
You're on. How are you,
Alright.
mate?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're okay. We're
Yeah.
okay. Danielle's away. She's in Europe.
She's in Europe,
She's in Europe.
Angus is playing a lot of golf.
playing a lot of golf, watching a lot of TV, none of which is the American Office.
Yep. Watching the Swedish Office. We are.
Swedish Office first, working my way through the knockoffs.
Sounds about
That was
right.
there first.
What's next? Norwegian office.
Norwegian, yeah, that's
Yep.
up there.
Yep.
Mexican.
Love it. All right.
How are you going, mate? Tell
so-
us the news.
Yeah, so VFL had a great win on the weekend.
100?
They won by almost 100 points.
Almost, okay.
Yep.
Is Jimmy Jordan out of hospital?
Look, I haven't been to check on him just yet, but he had 41 disposals for those who didn't get that
Leather
gag like
poisoning.
Max.
Big fella.
He had leather
Poor
poisoning.
joke.
He's had leather.
I loved it. He had 41, kicked 1 goal, 2. Tajwa Woden kicked 3 and had 30.
Tajwa
and,
boy.
and then a lot of the boys chipped in what was a great win for the boys. Got a few stats. So we're going to talk about our beloved fullback, Maisie. He's moved into the league's top 5 for rebound 50s. He's only behind Luke Ryan, Tom Stewart, and Jack Zeeble.
Does a kick out count for rebound
Yes,
50s?
it does.
So he's moved into the top 4 even.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Top 5 does sound better.
Has a better ring to it.
Yeah.
And then also, like, on the weekend for me, it was a bit of a sit back and watch Vines go to work. I thought he was unbelievable, and he had a career high 41. He also-
41?
Yeah. And he
You had
also,
40s before?
No.
You've had some good numbers in Alice before. Care to tell us what you did on the wing against Crows in 20...
Yeah, it was like 30 something and 37 and 3 or something like that.
On the wing?
Those were the days though. We had a good day. It was against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And
that was
we won by 100
Brownlow
points.
year.
Yeah, that was the year.
Yeah, you third, me fourth. What a year.
And nothing wrong with top 4, mate. That's
Yeah.
what moved in the
Oh, we
top
would
4.
say top 5.
At least I was there.
Better ring to
We're
it.
both top 5.
Both top 5.
I was
better
top
ring
3.
to it.
I think I'm on the podium.
And I was present, and you weren't.
Sure. But yeah, Vines was good.
Yeah, he was great. He got 9 coaches' votes. Hunt's got 2. Track got 2, and Bowser got 1. And now Track's third in overall coaches' votes. So
Third.
yep, with Clary coming back.
Who's first? Your Dacos or your Butters?
Dacos is first.
Are they 1 and 2? I'm presuming.
I would imagine so. Yeah,
They
both
seem to
pretty
be the
good
top
players.
2 at the
Yeah, I don't
moment.
keep an eye on the.
No, but you got a general feel that they're the 2 best players in the comp.
Yeah, you'd think so.
They
the way
would be
they're playing,
polling
yeah.
the best.
Yep. And the last one for me is just we had a trilogy of 150s on the weekend. So Rick, Harmsy, and then Goody coached his 150th game for the club as well, which was all pretty exciting. And unfortunately, we couldn't get the win.
We've got
But
another one this week. See if you can guess it.
another one this week, 150.
Ed Langdon.
No, he was 150.
That was
It was 100 the
Oh,
same
sorry.
day.
Is it
Yeah.
150 that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
150.
Okay. Someone who played.
Don't know,
Played on the
let me
weekend.
do some
There was someone in
hounding
Daily
during
Fridge,
the week.
Assuming he's not going to play.
It was
I don't know. I can get it.
I'm going to. Well, it's poor radio, so I'm going to give it to you in 5 seconds if you don't get it. 5, 4,
Lucky
3,
Hunter.
2,
He's already played.
1. It's Christian Salem's
150.
I guess I thought he played more.
We'll be looking forward to the speech.
We haven't had
pre-game.
match committee yet. So
Harmsy did his speech pre-game, and I did not hear the first sentence.
he.
Sorry, I heard it, but I think it was joined one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he got there.
He was a bit
fired
nervous.
it,
The
though.
first
been
sentence was a bit
easily
nervous, and then he was actually unbelievable.
Could have been easily mistaken for Spanish.
Yes. Not Italian. You would have picked it up. If it was
I would have picked it
Italian.
up if it was Italian. He would
Speaks
have said,
Italian. Did you know that?
yeah,
Didn't know
Signorina is
Wow.
Miss Calabrese. Buongiorno, Signorina Calabrese. So Signorina is Mrs. So I dare say Mr. is Signor. So Buongiorno, Signor Chandler.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour is
Well,
French,
Bonjour is
isn't it?
French. So you're speaking to me in French.
Can we cut that out?
No. Hey, do you know a couple of words?
Of French.
Do you know what
Oh yeah.
sabbatical is?
I've heard of sabbatical, but I couldn't give you an
And-
Oxford definition.
How many Bs do you reckon are in sabbatical? That's a trick question because he's obviously going to say
It's not 3.
No, I would have said 2 probably.
You would have said 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have said
And do you know what perpetuity means?
no.
And what's the third one that you said randomly?
Satire, satirical.
Satirical.
No.
Wow, see, there you go. You and
Chinley's
Titus
on a
are
farm.
You and Titus are so
Chin's grew up on
highbrow.
a farm.
He doesn't know
even-
any of them.
He wouldn't have even. Yeah, bloody hell. He's a farmer. He's harvesting.
Would you put it
harvesting?
perpetuity? Would you spell like purpose and put PU as well?
No, I would say it would be PE.
Okay, that's okay.
There's a
You're
cheat
little
sheet
bit more-
over here. Maybe you
Yeah,
saw it.
he did say it.
Anyway, any other news?
No, that's it from me. But I'm excited to see Salo's 150th highlights tape.
Yeah, it'll be
It
good.
would be a good 150 highlights. Tape.
Very good. That's it from me,
That
boys.
looks like we're just looking for our notes. I feel like that's it for us. We got St Kilda at Marvel this week, Saturday night football. Even on the ladder, 4th and 5th, I dare say, unless doggies split us. I know there's the 3 of us all on 36.
Yeah. Percentages get in the way. And
Yeah, and I dare say, I hear you, Melbourne fans. We do need a win. We need to play some of our best footy and need to kick some goals. So big week on the track, and we'll go kick some goals.
Yep, sounds good.
All right.